Welcome back to the Human Nexus. My name is Miss Laura Machiste. I am an online tarot reader, holistic massage therapist, spiritual coach.
And my name's Andrew Brazis. I am a marketing and business consultant and private chef.
So, this episode, we are going to talk about how this all got started, and we talked about why we're doing it. But this is going to get a little bit deeper into how we connected and all of the signs and synchronicities that led us to this. And basically, the reason for podcast format as well. So, to go on my own energy. For a while, I've been on YouTube, and for a while, I have been behind a screen reading tarot. And I had an idea to make a podcast that was called You're Not Crazy, You're Just Connected, to help people with their experiences where they feel like they're crazy or they can't understand the signs or they don't know what the synchronicities are. And that has always been something that I have wanted to do. It's just like been in my notebook, I would say, like for like 3-4 years ago. It's just been sitting there. And on my Leo channel, I started a Leo support train. And Andrew over here was one of the people who hopped on the train and we connected. I watched a bunch of his videos. I was like, wow, you have a great way of just like expressing yourself and just giving information. And I thought it would be a great idea to talk with him and see what is in his brain for ideas.
Yeah. So when you posted that, I normally don't comment on YouTube videos. I probably should more often, but I was like, oh, what the hell? Why not? And it being like business related, because I'm in marketing and business, I threw my link out there and I got like 12 or 15 YouTube subscribers from that, which was huge. Because, I mean, I at this time probably have 50, maybe. And so I was like, oh,
Right.
damn, like this is like kind of cool. And then when we connected via Instagram and we did our Zoom meeting and you were talking about the podcast that you wanted to do, I have been sitting on a podcast idea called The Connection with a K. And I mean, essentially like bridging the gap between, like what's woo woo and like what's lived experience, but on the spiritual side of things. And I couldn't believe the fact that like you explained the podcast in the way that you did because it was so weird to me to like be like, holy cow, this might be an opportunity to finally put this out into the world. And
Right.
it's funny because when I moved in October and like found your channel, one of my main goals was like to monetize my life. So like
Mm-hmm.
that's why I wanted to start the private chef company. I didn't know it would be that, but I just wanted to do something in food again. And
Right.
then the marketing and business side as well. But like the spiritual aspect, I had no idea like how I was going to manifest that. And I feel like this just works.
Right. That's exactly how I felt when you were explaining to me what you wanted to do and have like astrological case studies and get people's stories and experiences. I felt like that was so aligned with exactly what I wanted to do. I just have three channels on YouTube. I'm a massage therapist. So when there's so much busyness in the life, those types of
Yeah.
things take the backseat. And when you told me your idea and it just so happened to match mine, I'm like, well, this is probably perfect because it's not that I didn't want to do it by myself, but I didn't want to put so much on my plate to where I felt like I had to do everything on my own and editing and uploading and me being the person that's talking the most. Like I wanted to like be a way to like share that with another individual. And it just so happens to be that was your exact idea as well. So it really aligned nicely. And I didn't even know that I would find alignment through the own support train that I put out there for
Yeah,
other
that's
people.
crazy.
So that was
Yeah.
pretty cool.
And the fact that I guess that's kind of what this episode is about is all the synchronicities that like happened like up or after, I think were pretty insane.
Right. Yeah. The fact that
So
you chose connected and I
yeah,
chose crazy connected is
mhm,
crazy
yeah,
connected.
yeah, that is crazy. And then after the initial call, I mean, I feel like we kind of just like took off. Like there really wasn't, like, we did branding the next week, and like the first episode we recorded like that third week. But then, like, you want to share some of your like synchronicities you had in the beginning in those first areas?
Yeah. So, as most of you know, if you're watching this from my channel, then you know that I look for signs and synchronicities literally everywhere. And I wouldn't say that I don't allow people into my life, but I'm a little picky and choosy with those types of things, specifically people that I work with. Um, so when I first connected to you, I was getting a lot of signs and synchronicities of a lot of different things. And one of the things that stood out the most to me was when Andrew, you mentioned that he was Macedonian
Oh yeah.
and he was going to a convention. And the reason why it was so prominent in my energy was because I only work with one other person in my life, the person that I do swim coaching with, and she's Macedonian. And she's been part of my life and my family like since I can remember. I'm pretty sure she taught me how to swim because she is my older sister's friend, now my friend as well. And she's the only other person that I work with. So when you told me that out of just random, that you didn't even know it was going to connect to me, I thought that was really crazy. And as well as,
well, the gifts. So the
oh,
gifts
right,
that
right,
she
right.
gave you
Mm-hmm.
was a bracelet, which I went to Macedonia with my grandmother, who's passed away last year. But the gifts
Which who
that,
you went to honor at the
yeah,
convention.
correct. And
Yeah.
her energy has been around like crazy, just like in her passing. And it was kind of a sign from that, because the picture you sent me was the bracelet, which I got when I was in Macedonia with her. And it was also a card
Mm-hmm.
of Lake Okrid. And Lake Okrid is one of the oldest lakes in I think it's like the third oldest prehistoric lake, or it's something like that. And we swam and
Right.
spent a significant amount of time in Okrid in that lake. And she grew up, I grew up at her house on a lake here in Indiana. And so there's just
Mm-hmm.
so much, for me, synchronicity. There's like seeing that, I was like, oh, okay, well, like, it's obvious.
Right. And it's crazy that you say that too, because you connected to my channel like around October, November.
Mhm.
And that's when I reconnected to this Macedonian girl to start becoming a
Wow.
swim coach. Like around, I think it was November 13th, around there, sometime
Mhm.
between the 13th and the 20th, because I know I started swim coaching last year. November 28th is like when all like the applications went through and all of that stuff, because you had to do a couple different things. And it just so happens to be that this girl, she went to Macedonia and she got me these gifts, and I sent them to Andrew. I'm like, look, this is so crazy. I have these gifts from Macedonia. And it just so happens to fully connect to you in the craziest way that I would have never thought that a country would do,
Yeah.
if that makes
And
sense.
especially like
I'm used to getting other
Macedonia
signs.
is like it's not like a known, I mean, most people don't know, like, they don't have the same connections, I guess. It's not
Right.
like Greece, or I don't know, Spain or something that's like more
Mm-hmm.
popular. So that's just super interesting. Um, there was some other things too that we were like reconfirming. Well, that might be a different conversation, but like the case, like our own case study, I guess, is that.
Yeah.
Um, what else did you have synchronicity wise? Because there was like
Um,
multiple.
Yeah, I feel like in the beginning, well, I have like a bunch of stuff that I would see, but one more thing on the
Mhm.
Macedonian thing. The flag has the sun on it, correct?
Mhm. Yes. Yeah.
And I connected with Andrew
Oh,
through the Leo channel,
oh,
and
yeah,
they're
that's
ruled
interesting.
by the sun.
Yeah.
Weird. Also, one more thing on that. I have an Oracle deck in the making, and I used to do that like about 4 years ago. The project like
Mhm.
kind of fell off a little bit. The artwork's done. But I actually reconnected to the artist that I was doing work with, and I was like, I used to send you money on MoneyGram. What country are you in again? And she's from in
Oh,
Macedonia.
yeah, that's so
So
wild.
yeah, super weird that I choose these people, and I didn't know that out of you when we decided
Yeah.
to go through with this podcast. So like that is like super insane. But I was getting a lot of different signs and synchronicities. I had a dream. That was the first thing that happened to me.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So I had a dream the night or the day after, because I
We
feel like you
met.
have dreams in the
It,
morning,
it
right?
was the day because it was the day we met. It was that night
Yes,
because you
on
texted me
Zoom.
the next
Yeah,
day. Yeah.
right.
Which
So it was our
so
first business meeting.
share your side and I'll share my side because I had
Okay,
an
yeah,
interaction there too. Yeah.
right. So I'm a Pisces sun, so I'm really always paying attention to my dreams like all the time. And I talk about them a lot as well. So when I had this dream, it was that me and Andrew were throwing a party. And there was like a bunch of people in the party. Like everyone has a great time. Like we were hosting the party. And mind you, this is right after we had our first conversation of thinking of doing this podcast. And I remember in the party, I went out to the front to the line of people that were waiting to get into the party. And I said to them, like, it's full right now. And the people outside were, the one person said to me in my dream, and he said, well, can you ask some people that are in the party to leave so like we can go in? And I went to the people in the party and I asked, like, hey, will some of you guys leave who's been here for a while? And they're like, no, we're having too much fun. So that was like an indication for me that this podcast is going to align with the people that are supposed to make connections to their life, that are supposed to make these crazy connections that bring you that case study type of feeling. Like, how is this real? How is this connected? How is it that this is happening at this amount of time in this type of way? So I definitely feel like that dream was a big synchronicity for me, of a sign of saying like the right people will find this, but you have to start it.
Yeah. And then when you shared that with me, I that night I had the craziest experience. So I for lack of a better term, I feel like in the evenings I'm really in tune with energy. And when it's
Mm-hmm.
not my own, I'm very like aware of that. And I had like
Right.
an evening disruption energetically. That's the only way I can describe it. And I was like, what the hell is going on? I just met with this person. I also, like, for context, if you're new here, I spent 2 summers training with a psychic who's was world renowned. She passed away several years ago. But and so I've just tuned into these like different frequencies. And I just, for whatever reason, was like, okay, this isn't mine. This is something that's new. And it's also weird that I connected with a tarot reader. So there was like some connection there, but I didn't think much of it. And then I told you that, and you're like, oh yeah, so sorry. I might have just like like, do you remember what you said?
So I remember saying that like that happens. So like
Mhm.
when I am confused about something or not sure if I should do something, or if a new opportunity presents itself to me, or a new connection in the sense, I feel like my higher self, passed on loved ones, whoever, spirit guides decide to do this, they like to tell me things. So I feel like because I had all right, this was a great business conversation. This is great to see where this will go, in the sense of that we both have the same intention of what we're trying to get out there. And I kind of just feel like my spirit guides, or passed on loved ones, were like, all right, let's give her a dream of confirming that this could be good. So I kind of feel like that's what it was. And I feel like if they're going to tap into the energy that has to do with two people, then if you're really connected, then why wouldn't you feel it? You know?
Yeah, yeah. And that's, I don't know, like it's a weird confirmation, I think, but it's like one of
Right.
those like case study things of like, if you had that experience and I had it separately, but it
Mm-hmm.
was, surrounded by the same thing, I think that's important to note for, whatever it is. Um,
Right.
what was there was something else after that. Oh, the astrologer, if you want to get into that.
Oh, yeah. So I got an astrology reading in June at some point, and my astrologer said that I was going to align with someone that with a very strong purpose. Like there's a very strong purpose to align with someone and be of service in a sense. And although we can't be of service to people in the physical, this is going to, as I already know, that these things can still help people just because we're not in front of their face. We are here with them. And my astrologer predicted that. I had him look into me and Andrew's charts for synastry, whatever. And we have both of our vertexes are in Libra, which he said that means that there is some type of balanced state of order that we could bring into the lives. And specifically, you have a push towards a spiritual calling in your chart. And I am already a spiritual person for work. Like that's just what I do. So I feel like this, in terms of what the astrologer also mentioned, was putting you more in that spiritual realm as well. And of course, they're not going to send you like someone who's not spiritual. So that's probably where that connection came from. But we do have a lot of alignments and a lot of conjunctions. Yes, that's the word he used, which I thought was pretty cool to see, because I just had the alert that there was going to be a powerful force of energy coming in. And then there you showed up. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then when he looked at it,
I think it's super like for me personally, it's just reaffirming. Like if we get, I don't know, like 3 to 4 confirmations that like that's like number 3 or number 4. It's like, why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we do this and try to see it through? Which I think is great.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get signs and synchronicities like all the time. I actually got another one about cookies. And
oh yeah.
If you are from the New Jerseyan area, then you definitely know of the Cookie Connect. And it was basically made by like these 2 guys, and their logo is very similar to the logo that we decided on, which is more or less in the creative sector of Andrew's brain with that.
Yeah.
And it
yeah,
just so
I
happens...
I did not see the logo prior to designing.
Right, exactly. You didn't even know that this logo exists of these cookies. And it was called the Cookie Connect. And that was our first indication that we had the word connection. And 2 random people in my life brought up how the Cookie Connect started. I don't know if everyone's eating cookies around here all of a sudden, but 2 separate people were bringing it up. And I just so happened to like look up who the person was. And one of these guys' names that is the owner or the founder of the Cookie Connect, his name is Andrew. So that helped me have that connection and being like, wow, the word connection is there. The logo is weirdly similar to what we chose. And it just so happens to be that one of their names is Andrew. So
yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
But like
I get a lot of confirmations of things.
I think that's maybe like future episodes, having people on just like synchronicities and how it's lined up for people.
Yeah.
Like in the human experience side of things. Super cool.
Did you get any signs over there, or are you still looking for them?
I think the big one was the Macedonian thing. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I've been seeking for the majority of my life since I've been like a child, essentially. So like when I see something that's confirmation, I'm just like, oh, okay. Like I don't need to go much farther than that. And like the Macedonian, like specifically the picture of Oprah and the bracelet is like, oh, that's all. Yeah, okay, that's all I need. For me.
Right. I'll remember it for a future episode and see. But there has been a lot of like weird connections. But my life has always been weird. And I feel like actually Andrew sent me this thing for me to fill out the
Enneagram.
Ask questions of, the Enneagram personality type. And I never knew why, like, I just thought it was because I was a Pisces and I just had weird dreams and that I just knew things. Like, that's just what I thought the whole time. And I always had this really strong curiosity. But when Andrew had me take this personality test, it just so happens to be that I'm the investigator, number 5 personality type. And it made so much sense to me as to why spiritually I'm always investigating and I'm always trying to make connections and I'm always trying to figure out, like, what does this mean? What does that mean? I shouldn't be seeing that word more than once. Like with Macedonia, I was like, no. I know I don't get signs about that. So like all of a sudden I'm connecting to someone like this and all of a sudden these things are happening. So yeah, it's been weird.
Super weird, but like in the best way, because it's
right.
Yeah. No, it's
And that's
really
exactly
good.
the Human Nexus type of title. We are the Human Nexus right now. We might just be our own case study in a couple of months, seeing how this all plays out and how it manifests and stuff like that.
So I'm an Enneagram 9, which is the peacemaker. However, I should be a Enneagram 9 wing 8, and 8 is the challenger. Ooh. Which is interesting, but I'm new to the Enneagram stuff, probably 4 or 5 years-ish new. And in doing the test, I got 3 for my top. So it was a Enneagram 9, Enneagram 8, and then Enneagram 1. And I forget what the one archetype is. But my therapist and partner at the time thought I was an Enneagram 1. And then I essentially continued to take the test. And after like years of spending time with my therapist, everyone decided that I'm a Enneagram 9. And then further taking the test, Enneagram 9, wing 8, which I think is fitting because I do play like the peacemaker role. But another thing about Enneagram 9s is they don't believe the Enneagram is real. And I'm very much a skeptic. I think it's very useful, and I think I have a problem fitting into like just the 9 category, because like I might be an 8 some days, or I might lean more into a 1 some days, which is typical Enneagram 9 stuff apparently. So that's kind of weird, but
that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's how I felt about mine when I was reading it. I was like, yeah, this is spot on. But then other of them, I was like, oh, okay.
It also goes from like, there's healthy, like a healthy 9 goes to another location, or like an unhealthy 9 will go to another number. I don't know enough about it to speak about it, but yeah.
Well, I'm really into numbers. So when you came with that Enneagram numbered of personality, that was right up my alley in doing that, which I thought was really cool because I'm really into numerology. And it also kind of goes hand in hand, like with astrology, which may be what we talk about in our next episode, our astrological placements and how we feel like maybe they play out in our lives. Like when you feel like the Leo's there and when it's not there, or when your rising sign comes into play and your sun sign comes into play. So that is definitely probably something that we will go over in our next episode, as well as if any of you that are watching this really feel the need to express your spiritual experiences. If you feel like there's just something that you just wanted to tell the world and you feel like it'll be really helpful for other people to connect to and kind of compare their experience to, you can head to our website, thehumannexus.org. And if you scroll all the way down, you will see the portion to fill in your information. You put your name, you choose what topic you would like to talk about, and like a short summary of your story. And we will then in turn reach out to some of you and see when you'd like to get on and be on our podcast. And also, if anybody wants to figure out what your Enneagram personality type is, then maybe we'll try to link that down below in the description as well. So you'll see both of those links.
All right. Thanks everybody for listening to the Human Nexus podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.